You guys, I have been waiting to do this, but now that I finally have time, let's have a talk about Real Housewives of Rhode Island. And as someone that was born in Providence, raised in Coventry, Warwick, and Cranston, I think I'm the perfect person to review all of this. So, first up, I want to talk about personally my favorite character on the whole show, Miss Kelsey. So, Kelsey was involved in a lot of different things, with the biggest thing at the beginning of this season being that she was in a relationship with a man who also had different partners. Now, I will say, for privacy reasons and probably because he doesn't want to be on TV, which is valid, we don't know who that man is. We just know out of her own words that he is from a prominent family in Rhode Island. And this was honestly, to me, the second biggest talk of the whole season, just because this is an unorthodox relationship. But, Kelsey and her partner at the time had an agreement that it was going to be with one other partner, and she was open to it. He was taking care of her. So everything was okay for her. But for some of the other girls, it was obviously something really big to talk about. So what we later learn going throughout the season is that Kelsey actually ends up breaking up with her boyfriend and getting with someone else named, I don't even know, Bill, Ben, I want to say. I'm not sure. I can't remember off the top of my head, but she ended up getting a different partner who she believed would treat her better. And so towards like the middle to the end of the season, we do see her start to kind of become more independent. We see her learning how to write a check. We see her moving out. That yes, her ex is still providing for her in certain aspects, but she's kind of taking on more of that role and responsibility. Now, the biggest fallout with her is with the other cast member named Rosie, where Kelsey came over to do her hair. And Rosie never posted pictures, never said anything about it. And it was just kind of an over dramatized scene. Because, if I'm being truly honest here, Kelsey, if you guys didn't have an agreement, it was not expected. However, as far as Rosie, yeah, she could have just, all she had to do was just tag you in the picture. Easy day. Didn't have to go on a whole rant about it. Just, easy day. But overall, I think that, especially with Kelsey being one of the youngest, if not the youngest, don't quote me, cast members, she did handle herself very maturely. And just kind of handled her own weight. Yeah, I'm in a relationship with this partner. He has another partner. Whatever, we're okay with it. So she handled herself. So next up, we have Miss Liz. So I really love that Liz was, don't quote me, one of the first to open a legal in the state of Rhode Island. I believe that her and her husband operate this together. So she's a businesswoman, but she's also catering to women that have premenopause. So, and I do think that that's, a category where she was the one who fought for it. She made it known to, the senators, the politicians that needed to know about this to make the necessary changes. And they actually did it. Now, Liz was in some controversy because I believe her and her husband have a male friend that Liz is really close with. However, it was always known that I guess they never had an intimate relationship. So this person is strictly platonic and was kind of getting brought into stuff and wasn't even there to defend himself. So I don't agree with the other girls and the other cast members, kind of bringing that into it because he's not there. Which that actually led to a falling out between her and Kelsey. For just a brief moment, Kelsey had made a comment about something that Liz was like, hey, look, I supported you when everybody was talking about your situation, but here you are saying, oh, I don't think that it's the right time with everything going on. And then obviously she had a falling out with Miss Rula at the tell-all reunion. I believe it's called a reunion. Because Rula kind of went over some of these things again, where allegedly Liz had told Rula herself that she, they do their own thing or something along those lines of basically implying, as Rula stated, that, Liz had been unfaithful to her husband. But overall, I think that Miss Liz is a boss woman. She's caring about, I'm not even in premenopause, and obviously those symptoms, like, those are realistic. So I do believe that she has a great head on her shoulders. She's supporting a cause that she fully believes in. She's immersing herself into it, and I believe that's what we need. All right, so next up, we have a cast member that I honestly, truly don't think she belonged. And that is Miss Ashley. Beautiful woman, beautiful family. However, like, her storyline was just so boring. So as far as Ashley, like, I do believe that she has, a great head on her shoulders. She's an influencer. She's trying to get her husband into influencing. She takes care of her children. They have, I believe it's a cafe or some sort of like restaurant industry business. But where I will say is that she kind of always was in the middle of things. Obviously, she's friends with Rosie, but she would still kind of like just either be in the room while people are, talking about someone, and just kind of, sit there, because I think that she didn't want anybody coming at her, which is valid. But I mean, also understanding that you sign up for a reality TV show, it's just like, you're going to want some drama. And unfortunately, all we saw was just her crying over, little things and just getting upset. And obviously, the night at the restaurant where everybody was arguing, you have to expect that putting all these women in a room together, even though it's at your restaurant, they have conflicts that they want to resolve. And obviously, with the cameras being there, they're going to try to resolve it there. But I do think that she's a great person. I just don't think cut out for reality TV, just because of, like, unless you want to get into the nitty gritty, like we had Rula's infidelity scandal with her husband. We had Kelsey with 2+ boyfriends, like Liz with her man problems. But it seemed like Ashley didn't want, like, their problems to come to the light. And I don't know. But she's a cool girl, very beautiful, love her. All right, next up we have the former news lady, Miss Rosie. So first off, I think that Rosie is a beautiful woman. Obviously, seeing like her in the music video versus seeing her now, like, yeah, you can tell that she went through a glow up period. But the thing that strikes me about Rosie is she kind of played victim a lot during this season. So I remember initially her bringing up Kelsey having the 2 boyfriends at like the, I don't even know what that was. It was like a charcuterie board, and then they had like a lunch or something on the beach. But she was the one who brought it up about Kelsey possibly being into poly and things of that nature. And so, like, obviously everyone who was on Kelsey's side was trying to defend her because Kelsey wasn't there. And then everybody that was on Rosie's side. But the issue that I had is when Rosie started crying about it. So she almost implied that she was playing victim. So basically she could talk about people, but they couldn't talk about her. And, obviously, like, as viewers, we want questions answered. We want to see that. But you can't just break down when it starts coming back at you. And then also, I just think it was really weird to emphasize on the size of her house or whatever, the extension on her house. I think that was really weird, especially bringing out the blueprints. Like, what was the purpose in that if you didn't want drama at your house? And if I'm being honest, I think she said something about like 8,000 square feet, and then she changed it to 5,000 square feet. And like, I don't know, my house, I think our house is like 5 something. And I can tell you with those 2 little bricks or whatever, 2 little areas that she had, probably not 5K. But I do think she's a beautiful woman, and I'm excited to see if she wants to redeem herself, or even if she will. I do think that there's a lot of misunderstanding between her and Kelsey, but as someone mentioned at the reunion, they are actually the same person. Like, they have so much in common that it's not even funny. But obviously, watching from the outside, I just wish that these 2 women could put their differences and their pettiness aside and see that they could actually be like this dream team of women. But I'm running out of time, so I'm going to do a part 2 with the rest of the characters. And I'm also going to do another series where we just talk about the husbands and the boyfriends. So stay tuned for more. Bye.